You're welcome back. Thank you very much. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. Also joining us now is Linda Ofori-Kwafo, Executive Director, Ghana Integrity Initiative. That is the Ghana chapter of Transparency International. And she's also on the board of Transparency International. I think the only African woman on that board. I remember how that was celebrated in 2020, thereabout, or 2021. Thank you, Linda, for making time to join us. But let's quickly deal with the revised terms and deadline for the bond issues, as in the debt exchange program. Yes. So help us to appreciate. Something has happened that if you guys had not, protested and done the things you have done, will not have been available. So the minister that you have accused of not listening, and the government that is not, just trying to impose things on citizens, has at least listened.
So, not listened enough, because you hear headline, if we go with the proposals made by the government, the memorandum, we are going to lose about 60 to 88% of the value of the bonds. And that's the research that's been shown. That's the research results that we have. Losing about 60 to 88% of the value of the bonds. So this is no offer at all. Rather, you hear lawyers, even on lawyers' platform, you see them raising this expropriation, Article 20. Illegal taking of citizens' money. So, Sam, the simple thing is that when we
talking about lawyers' platform, there's a concern that the Ghana Bar Association should be heard, and it's not being heard.
Excellent. Yes. Senior lawyers have raised it, and it's something that maybe the leadership of the Bar Association should do, because you see the Christian Council has been heard, the Catholic bishops, they, as usual, for them, even during the PNDC regime, they were the bulwark of our democracy, because they stood up against the PNDC regime and all that, right? So they've been heard. I mentioned Christian Council, then organized labor. You've seen IEA, you've heard IFS, Dr. John Kwachi, and so on and so forth. So
we've heard even Alan Tremanting.
Oh, excellent! Except that Alan, I have to be careful. Once
he believes in exemption for the individual bondholders.
Yes, because, as I say, let me be careful. From what I see right now, is the easiest thing to do, because overwhelming majority of our people support the exemption. So it's the easiest thing to do. For me, when Alan started in government and the ship sank last year, I became very wary of his politics. The same for Baumia. Baumia was talking in opposition. When the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. Last year, the exchange rate.
So let's talk about the new terms. The new terms for individual bondholders. If you are age below 59 years, you get 10% on your coupon. Maximum maturity, 5 years. If you are a retiree, 15% on your coupon, and 5 years maximum maturity.
Excellent. Now, Sam, what we say, this is not good enough. So this is what our members are saying they don't like, because as we speak now, just Monday, 6th February, about 4 billion of the bonds will be maturing, right? 4 billion on Monday, 6th. Then you go to about 20th February, another 4.2 or something will be maturing. So the point I'm making is that lots of people are about to get paid anyway. So there's no incentive. There's no incentive for them to sign on. That's it. And then you go on for the rest of this year up to November. Then next year, 2024, 2025, 2026. So the finance minister, last Friday, not yesterday's Friday, the Friday before, the last week, he gave us a firm promise that government will honor the existing bonds. And then sure enough, on Monday, Daily Graphic, both the online and the hard copies, the story came out that government will honor the existing bonds. So Sam, once the existing bonds are good, they are good. He's subsequently raised issues of tradability, and we don't want to get in there. Our technical committee has advised us that
let's listen to Deputy Minister John Kuma on this. John Kuma was on the Super Morning Show, and people think he almost repeated what he had said earlier that people felt was misspeak.
All the old bonds with new ones. And so you created a risk for those who were holding the old bonds. In the sense that if they have to, an individual bondholder has a liquidity challenge and he wants to trade off his bond, he needed a market to trade in. And because you have transitioned all the old bonds to the new ones, he's virtually going to get maybe 10% of the value of his bond. So for instance, let's say I have a bond of 1 million Ghana cedis as an individual bondholder. If we finally transition to the new bonds, there will be no market, especially in the secondary market for me, in case I have a liquidity challenge. I cannot trade that 1 million cedis that I have for immediate liquidity. And that may cost me to receive maybe just 100,000 out of the 1 million. And so we realized that by default of the new arrangement, you are disadvantaging the individual bondholders. So let's give them an option. Now the option is that individual bondholders can still choose to exempt or choose to stay out. But in their own interest of future liquidity challenge, we are encouraging them to also take a new bond that we are issuing specifically for the individual bondholders, which we said 59 years and below, you're going to get 10% coupons. It's no longer zero, as we announced earlier. It's gone to 10% per annum, and then maturity from 15 years is reduced to 5 years. So clearly, this offers a huge opportunity for individual bondholders to now come on board. And those above 59 years too, they will even have coupon rate of 15% and maturity reduced to 5 years. The advantage, even though it's voluntary, the advantage for taking these new bonds is that in case of future liquidity challenge, you are still able to trade your new bonds and get the value of your bond. Rather than, so let me advise those who want to just hold to the old bond, if that is what they prefer, is that you have to hold on till end of maturity. So if your bond will end in 2027, please, no matter your situation, don't try to sell it.
Why shouldn't you try to sell it?
Because there will be no market.
Right. So that is the risk.
That's false. So that's how come Senor came in very strongly. You know, on that day it was good. That Senor came in strongly, and later John Kumar was complaining that.
Okay, hold on. Let's listen to Senor, and then we'll come back to the table. Okay. Let's listen to Senor Hosi, who is also a convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum.
It is not true that you are losing 90% of your value.
I said,
is he right that if government doesn't get other people participating in the program, like the banks and all the others, it will have very difficult challenges? Absolutely true. We have told everybody that individuals are not required in this mix because what government needs, according to its own estimation, is 80%. Individuals are just about 10%. So you still have a 90% pool to work from. The truth is that government does not even need 80%. Because if government takes responsibility and starts leading the way, taking the right sacrifices, the right sense of responsibility, by adjusting its expenditure, adjusting its fiscal space, its revenue operations, and start being responsible on that front. When you talk about contribution and people are sacrificing for others to have a right, John Kumar is sitting there, ask him, who is having the biggest right right now? Tell us what government has announced as these major structures to change its way of life. You haven't announced one thing.
Yeah, so Martin, the Ghana Association of Banks, you know, they signed on, so to speak, on January 23rd. You had the Ghana Insurance Association, they signed on 26 January. The Ghana Security Industry, they did January 27. And now we are waiting on you, and you are sticking to a promise of total exemption. Pension funds were thought to have been exempted, but it looks like that is not exactly the case.
Yes,
so they are also sounding the alarm bells.
Excellent, excellent. So Sam, yes, we are holding on to our existing bonds because that's a firm assurance from the minister that the existing bonds will be honored. So once they'll be honored, there's no incentive to trade them in where we will lose value. And as we say, once you hold your bond, you will get paid. Now, let's quickly mention this. The banks that have signed on grudgingly, we are shareholders in the banks. So yes, we are shareholders. Millions of Ghanaians have bought shares in the bank. So we are receiving haircut there because very soon the banks will come and tell us that they can't give us any proper dividends. So we are already suffering there. Then we are suffering the cost of living crisis.
But the banks are assured of the liquidity support.
We don't have
from the fund that is being set up.
Yes, we don't have clarity on its structures and all that. You know, the banks had to gradually sign on because of fear that, you know, they may be victimized and all that. They are not happy. You ask Professor Bobkin and the rest, people who are close to them, they will tell you. But it's just because of the, you know, coercive powers of the state and everything. But they are not happy because, Sam, the easiest is, look at the budget. Look at the budget. Let's cut down. Cut. Everybody agrees. If IEA, IFS, all the other people, Raymond Akwa, Winston, Mama V, everybody, every Ghanaian has come to appreciate that the way to go is to cut. So why is Oforiatta sticking to his guns that for him, we should rather lose our investment? It doesn't add up. It just doesn't work that way.
It's, Honorable Swin, what do you also say about this? So there was a first deadline, December 19, 2022. We came to the second deadline, December 30, 2022. Third deadline, January 16, 2023. Fourth deadline, January 31st. Then here we are, fifth deadline, February 7.
Well, Samson, all of this is happening as a result of the cluelessness and the intransigence of that cluelessness that is exhibited by the people who are in charge.
The longer it takes, the worse the economy gets.
But unfortunately, the people in charge don't realize this fact, that the longer it takes, because it has taken so long for them to do certain things, we got to where we are today. And unfortunately, they are not still waking up to smell the coffee, to realize that the longer it takes, the worse our situation becomes, so that they can begin to act in ways that will engender, you know, some sort of sympathy and support from the general public. And it is sad. I mean, for some of us who knew.
But there are no options.
There are.
From Bright Simmons' presentation to us on this show, the countries that have done this, the least period they took to consult with the people was 13 months. Some did 18, some did far more. But in our case, because we did not subscribe to the debt suspension and the situation got bad, we have to go to the IMF, they say board.
From staff level, we're going to the board.
In April, right? And we need to get this as quickly as possible. So we don't have the luxury.
So why didn't we subscribe to the debt suspension?
Because we are taking a firm decision that we're not going to.
We're arrogant, we're intransigent, we'll refuse to listen to good advice. In fact, when we're told that our economy was in crisis by 2018, 2019, or was heading there, it was denied, it was poo-pooed.
Yes.
And by 2020, the COVID hit and exposed the fact that our government had been managing the economy cluelessly, and that they had finished, you know, wasting the inheritance that they came to meet, the harvest. It was harvest time. I mean, some work had been done prior to their coming into office. And so it was a period of plenty. 2017 was a period of plenty. 2018 was a period of plenty. But by 2019, the signs were on the wall that as a result of mismanagement and misapplication and corruption of the period of plenty, we were heading into a ditch. They denied it. And eventually...
2019, I think it was rather 2020, 21 that the World Bank representative said that things were already getting bad. Not in 2019.
According to the World Bank report, by 2019, we were highly, our debt stress was high. By 2019, our debt stress was high, according to the World Bank report. In fact, the World Bank country director himself has said it, that we started facing challenges by 2019. We had finished wasting the harvest that we came to meet, and so the signs started showing. And clearly, they did not take remedial steps. They were still boastful. They were still arrogant about the mismanagement that they were supervising. And
so now here we are in the ditch. So how do we pull ourselves out?
That's where we are in the ditch, but unfortunately, they are still not listening. So I was surprised when you started by saying that, well, they have listened. Look, by 2021, there were calls for them to have a national forum. Let's even have a national debt forum. So that you have all these people who will be affected by this restructuring come to one room, sit around one table. Let us all appreciate how the agreement with the financial institutions, for example, will affect the individuals who trade with the financial institution. You are not doing that. You are rather engaged in divide and conquer. So you go and negotiate separately with the banks. Whatever the banks agree to is not in some way in the interest of the individual who also does business with the bank. We do not know if our interest has been guaranteed in the agreement that the banks have reached with the government as far as this is concerned. Again, with the insurers, we do not know. I have, a package with the insurance company. The insurance company has gone to agree with government, to take a haircut. I do not know how it will impact my deal with them. So when you do not have that national platform where you have all the stakeholders sitting together to have a conversation where it is frank, where you all know what you have to give and take, and especially where the government leads the way in shaving its hair. And that is where I agree with Martin. I mean, if you look at our budget for 2023, the government is seeking to increase expenditure by about 53%. Within the short period of time that minority members of parliament had to look at the budget, we were able to cut down on, for example, 80 million Ghana cedis that was going to, what do you call it, cathedral. 10 million Ghana cedis that was going to the corrupt-ridden special initiatives office at the presidency. We're able to do all of that within the short period of time that we had. So if together we sit around the table and look at this budget, where government is seeking to increase expenditure by 53%, and you are talking about increasing it from 133 billion to about 205 billion. 133 billion last year. I mean, we could not even, spend 133 billion. We couldn't even realize that. Now you are seeking to spend 205 billion. When you are asking me to reduce my spending and to give it to you to pay your debt, I mean, what sense does it make?
Kofi, people have asked the question, yes, deadline has been pushed to 7th February, but the statement now categorical from the Finance Ministry is that individual bondholders are free not to participate. However, old bonds may have limited tradability. So if you are free not to participate, why go about worrying and asking to be exempted specifically?
Well, Newsfile time is so short, so let me make the points first. I will explain if I can later on. Samson, some of those words, some of those statements don't make sense. They make no sense whatsoever. And I think it is worrying because the first thing you want from managers of an economy is credibility. And the point has to be made that the managers of this process have zero credibility. They have changed the date 5 times. It's the same thinking that brought us into this problem. And Samson, at least you know at Imani, we have done the work. We have looked across the world, looked at the best practice, studied places where these things happen, how they went through it. All the main people speaking on this thing are fellows of Imani, and we have been working at this. I can tell you a few of the ingredients that lead to a solution in these kinds of problems. 1, these problems happen over time. They don't happen suddenly. And when they happen, A solution requires time. So in all the cases where these things have been solved, you had a situation where you have a credible team, number one, and then they give themselves time, and what they use the time to do is to consult with the key persons involved, and then they, the people who are managing, make sure that they come to the table with clear austerity. They themselves start with the sacrificing, they make it clear before they ask other people to do the sacrifice. And that is how they buy goodwill. Now, with that consultation, sincere, respectful consultation over time, and that austerity, you fashion a plan, and then you execute the plan over time. We have a situation where these people have been arrogant, caused us the problem. They remain arrogant, they are not consulting, they are not giving it time. A problem that took them so many years to create, they pretend that, oh, they can just snap their fingers and put out a plan, and then immediately the problem will be solved. They've put out 5 different deadlines, and we still don't have anywhere to go. This present situation where you have the statement that the banks are going to sign up, etc., there is no guarantee that even if all of them sign up, we'll reach the 80%. And if you solve that problem alone, it is like solving one puzzle out of 100. So honestly, it worries me that we've all left it to these same people who caused the problem to continue to, mess up the way they've messed up so far. And Senor Hosi is right. The existing bonds are the bonds with the strongest legal back. They are valid, they are the bonds with the best chances of tradability. All these new bonds are based on nothing. They haven't told us the basis upon which they are issuing these bonds and the sources of funding upon which they will pay what they have promised coming, when these things mature. So look, there's a lot to say about this, but the bottom line is this. Our managers, the people who are running this thing, should find a new set of faces who have better credibility and who are trusted to lead this process, because they are walking all of us into a ditch.
Walking all of us into a ditch. The president disagrees with you that the man at the helm is the best to continue to finish this, at least before, if anything will happen to him, will happen. He will not listen to even his own party people who say, change the driver.